Hey, today I'm going to be talking about all things QuickBooks, so a bunch of frequently asked questions that I get from bookkeepers about how to interact with QuickBooks, how to pay for it, how to work with clients in QuickBooks. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, make sure to check out my free masterclass and checklist at FinePoints.biz. I will plan to put chapter titles so you can switch to a question. If you already know the answer, you can skip it. But my first question is, who sets up QuickBooks? So when you get a new client, are you the one setting up QuickBooks as the bookkeeper, or is your client setting it up? And basically you can do it either way. If my client already has QuickBooks, when I start working for them, I just leave their QuickBooks alone and I don't, need to set up anything. But if they do not have a bookkeeping system, I let them know that I'm a bookkeeper who works exclusively in QuickBooks. And how it's best to set it up is the owner of the company is the owner of the QuickBooks file. So you may need to just walk them through doing it and kind of advise them as they go, and also have them hook up their bank accounts in the bank feeds because they'll need to put in their personal password most likely, and then they can add you as a user or as an accountant. So the process really isn't that hard, but some clients do find it kind of daunting, so it is good to maybe be on a Zoom call or be sitting next to them as they're setting things up. Number two, what if they have QuickBooks Desktop instead of QuickBooks Online? So this would be probably okay with me as a bookkeeper. I try to work exclusively in QuickBooks Online because I find it easier, but if it was a good client that I really wanted to work with and they had a good setup on desktop, then I would be willing to do that. One of the questions further on is kind of the differences between those two. So I'm gonna get into that a little deeper in the video, but basically I would ask them if they wanted to switch to QuickBooks Online, and if not, depending on the client, I would be okay with desktop. All right, next question is, who pays for QuickBooks? So you can do this in a variety of ways as well. What I like to do is I like to include the QuickBooks fee into my charges that I'm charging my client, and so it seems like it's free for them. And then as a pro advisor, I get a discount on QuickBooks. So I'm gonna show you two different screenshots. And you can do it two different ways. So either you can pay for QuickBooks with your own card, your own debit or credit card, and then your client can reimburse you, or you can put it into the fees like I do, or you as a pro advisor can have your client pay with their credit card, but the deal isn't quite as good. So you can see this first screenshot says the pro advisor discount. So it's 30% off for the lifetime of the subscription, I believe. QuickBooks does change their prices occasionally. They just had a big price change like a few months ago. So that was a bit of an adjustment, but you can see this is probably the best deal that they're going to get if you're paying for their QuickBooks. And you can see there's 4 different options, which I'm going to talk about in a second as well. And then you can see the second screenshot at the top, the little bubble is filled in that says direct discount. So that is when they bill your client, and it's that same 30% discount, but it's only for 1 year. And I think they do get the first month for free. So it's a more temporary discount, and that is if they're billing your client. So obviously it might be a little easier for you if the client is billed, but it might help with your retention of clients, and also it might be a more attractive package that you can offer clients if they're not having to pay their bookkeeper and having to pay for QuickBooks. So it's kind of up to you and how you want to structure your business. And everything that I said mostly applies to new subscriptions and just setting it up. Again, if the client already has a system, they already have been using QuickBooks for many years, usually I don't mess with it just because it's more trouble than it's worth. You can tell your client, oh, I can offer you a 30% off wholesale price, and then I believe you'd have to call into it and get the account switched over. So it's just a little bit more work, but you can definitely do that for your clients. All right, so my next two questions are, what QuickBooks should you get as a bookkeeper, and what QuickBooks should you recommend your client to get? So as a bookkeeper, you should be getting QuickBooks Online Accountant. I have a couple of videos on that. Here is what the screenshot of that looks like, and talks all about how to be a pro advisor if you don't know what that is already. All right, and then I'll pop up the screenshot again. There are these 4 options, and you might have to do a little bit of digging about exactly what your client needs and what they're going to use in QuickBooks and what they want. So it's hard for me just to kind of make a recommendation as like a blanket statement. But I'd say most of my clients are probably on the Plus plan. Simple Start is really simple, obviously, and so it's probably a little less than most businesses need. Essentials, you can pay bills and you can track time and you can do up to 3 users. So as your plans are more expensive, then you can have more users. That's one thing to think about, as well as think about inventory if your client needs to track inventory, because that is going to be better done on Plus. either Plus or Advanced. So that is a key thing there. Think about if they need to track classes. And then the advanced version, that's actually the one that they give us for free as the QuickBooks Online accountant. So like when I'm looking at QuickBooks for my business books, I'm looking at the advanced version, I think, because they probably want to kind of sell us on that and be like, oh, here's all the features that are in advanced. There's like a bit more automation, more customization. The 2 highest plans have a backup as well, like if you lose your work or something. So yeah, so definitely get on their website, click into each one of those things. You know, they have like all the check marks about like this is included and this is not included. So as a bookkeeper, you want to be kind of familiar with that because clients will probably ask you like, which version do I need? So there's no one size fits all, but of course you don't want them to be overpaying for features that they're not using. All right, and next question is, what is the difference between QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop? So when I first started bookkeeping, I worked exclusively in desktop and now I work exclusively online. So that was about 9 years ago that I started. I do have a whole video just dedicated to talking about this. It's a bit older, but this is what the thumbnail looks like. So you can check that out. Basically, they feel different. So I think of it as like desktop feels like you're entering information kind of like in an Excel document, which I actually really like. And then online feels kind of more like when you're going through your bank's website. So it sometimes takes a little bit longer to like refresh and that kind of thing. The reason that I switched to online exclusively is because it's a lot easier to manage client work from within there. So the problem that comes with desktop is because it's not on the cloud, you need to figure out how to share the information with your client. So there's a couple different, I'm going to say 4 different options that you can do in order to share that information. So first of all, if you have a bigger client, hopefully they would have a network, I think it's called, where different employees can log in with their login and they see stuff on a shared drive that all the employees where they would access all of their information. So then the QuickBooks file would be saved in there and you hopefully would have a subscription or the version where you can have multiple people access it. So that's the first option if your client is set up for that. This was a little more rare in my clients that were using desktop. So secondly, the file could be housed on your client's computer and you could remote into their computer. So I believe that most of the time when I was researching this, the computer needs to be not being used by someone. So it just requires a little bit of tech, or maybe there's a special computer that's just used for that, or you would work at an off time that your client isn't using that computer. All right, and the third way that is very cumbersome is to share a backup of the file. So say I am doing all the work in QuickBooks and then once a week or so I make a backup of that QuickBook file and I share it with my client so that they can view it or do whatever they need to do. That is not recommended just because I think as you continue copying the file back and forth, there can be room for error as well as corruption in the file. But if you want to just do that a little bit or temporarily, that is an option. And finally, the thing that I did with a couple of clients starting out is I just housed the QuickBooks on my computer and then I sent them all the reports they needed. So we were trying to figure it out and then my client was actually like, I don't really need to see QuickBooks, you know, on a day in and day out basis. I can just get the reports. Me as the bookkeeper was in charge of doing all the work in there. So that's probably the main reason that I prefer online now. Typically online ends up being a little bit more expensive in like over the course of a year because you have a monthly subscription that you pay each month, whereas desktop you just buy it once for a more expensive rate. And I don't know what the prices are now. It was like $150 when I first started a long time ago. So I think you're more up to like $500-ish now. So again, bigger upfront cost, but over time it's going to be cheaper. Oh, and also when I used it, it didn't hook up to bank feeds as well. Sometimes I would have to go log into a bank and get a spreadsheet, download it, and then upload it into QuickBooks Desktop. I don't know if they've fixed that a little bit better now, but if you're just starting out as a bookkeeper and you want to keep things as simple as possible, I would specialize in QuickBooks Online as I've chosen to do. Obviously, I'm biased, but that is my recommendation to you guys. All right, next question. Is there a certification in QuickBooks Desktop, kind of like the free Pro Advisor certification for online that I talk about a lot? There is one for desktop, and I just did a little research, and apparently you're supposed to be able to find it within your QuickBooks Online Accountant subscription. So if you go into there, go into the training tab, there should be a drop down that says of the certification for desktop. I didn't see it in mine. So if you're looking for that, I would probably give Intuit a call and ask them exactly where to find that, or if they need to give you access to that within your QuickBooks Online Accountant profile. I will say overall that business owners, QuickBooks, and bookkeepers are moving towards online. So I'm not sure if they will have that desktop certification for many years. And the certifications are pretty year specific. So like you can get certified in desktop 2022, and it's different than maybe a few years before that. All right, and last question, do I use any other bookkeeping or accounting programs besides QuickBooks? I do not. When I first started out, I was willing to learn other programs, and I just wanted to get any client that would possibly hire me. So I'd be like, oh yeah, you're using Xero, sure, I'll like figure that out. Or, oh, you don't want to pay for QuickBooks, okay, that's great, I'll just like figure it out. But what I figured out is that it takes me way longer to learn a bunch of different programs, and I'm way less efficient. So it's better for me just to specialize in QuickBooks Online and then not take on clients that aren't willing to use QuickBooks Online. So that is totally personal preference for you as a bookkeeper. You can definitely be a bookkeeper and not use QuickBooks, but that is just over my experience, what I have found to work the best for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would love it if you subscribe to this channel. I do new bookkeeping videos every single week. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and found it helpful, and definitely leave me a comment down below with any of your other QuickBooks questions. I can answer it down there, or other bookkeepers in our community can answer as well. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.